Each planet is a classroom. There were actually 13 classrooms in this cycle at one time. The term triskaidekaphobia, the fear of the number 13, comes with sole recollection of a planet, Maldek and Maluna, that destroyed themselves. And that fear is carried on. Any planet that's hollow, any life form that's advanced, will live inside, not on the outside. You're limited, and the age, what is called EXD, EXD, and age transmutes to a person, or translates to a person who lives on the surface, because you're exposed to too much radiation, the planetary radiation, plus the sun radiation, plus the moon radiation, and you will die. You cannot have longevity on the surface of a planet in a physical body. But if you go inside a planet, the atmosphere inside is more cloaking, much more magnetic, which leads to longer life. People get taller and so on like this under a magnetic field. In summation, living on the surface is almost condemned to death, and the disease of age takes place. The cells will wear out because there's too much harmful things there going for them to maintain and grow stronger and longer. Inside, giants can live because now instead of your life force being taken away, you're cloaked in magnetic field, which leads to stronger growth, leads to longevity, which leads to better usage of everything you have. Because we're all individuals in bodies learning. On the surface, age takes place. So, I say all that to say, if you're looking for intelligent life forms, you look inside the planet, not on the surface. The intelligent ones have had wisdom enough to go inside and become wise, live long enough to have more wisdom and exuberate that inside. On the surface, it's a temporary thing. That's what it's supposed to be while you're here to learn, and then you decide what you're going to do. On Mars, there are melanated people living inside of that Martian atmosphere. The movies have tried to show that when you had some of the honest producers, the people who wanted to tell you a story, tell it in the cloak form, like the Spielberg and Lucas in their series, they would tell you again in their own way that they're inner Earth beings, exterior Earth beings, and astral beings. Either of these is a way to live, but it's on a different dimension. It's on a different vibrational rate, same third dimension. So, inside of Mars are said to be black people. I use that collectively because there's no such thing as a black race. Melanated people, they look a certain way. And the best way I can describe how they look would be what we call the Olmecan statues that you see everywhere. That's what they were taken from. They were from the people that came from Sirius by way of Mars that came here. In many cases, those were the Martians. That's why they're now trying to hide that fact. That's why they don't want to show you that the face on Mars is of a Negroid-looking woman. I have to use Negroid. We're going, Caucasoid, Anthropoid, Mongoloid, all this kind of thing. But it's of a black woman and with dreads. You can't be more descriptive than that. What they don't like to tell you, there was a post office that was there on one of the islands they invaded, and it had Our Lady of the Pyrenees and Our Lady of the Islands. Lady of the Island stamp was of a Negroid woman with dreads. And it showed one of the goddesses of ancient times. Now the Greeks gave us that, the word goddesses, so I'm just going to use that for the term that we best understand. And it showed this Negroid woman as being from Mars. It showed her as a planetary beautiful woman. In other words, could bring forth many races from her. What they were saying was that out of melanin many things can come. And they invaded that island, they tore up all the stamps, they wanted to get rid of their Lady of the Islands there again. But if you would take a solenoid reprint and put that over the face on Mars, she would come to life. It shows the same thing there, that the Martians had come here, that the Martians who were the Olmecs were here to teach in time, and then at the time they left. They left after having a great battle, a great conflict, and I won't go into that. It takes too much more time. But they had a great battle that was fought here when the Olmecians tried to defend against the Dracon and Dracon robots that came back here. They lost that battle simply because they refused to let any more souls have to be, to be expired through that daggone process. But they also left us with the same thing that could get to where they are: melanin, pyramids, crystals, and magnets. With that, if we awaken, we can use the same thing to do what they did. They did it, and then they had to take away the crystal, the all-seeing eye of the pyramid. They took away all of the grand gallery, that whole thing that made that thing become a ray machine and a transporting machine. We see semblances of what was, but we know within our hearts what is.
Let's touch on reincarnation. Do we choose to come back here, or do we have to come back here to learn a lesson?
A quarter, a third, what you choose. A third, which what you have also done, and a third, granted by the dispensating consciousness at that time, is what you need. People say, if I just follow my first mind. If we follow our first mind and our last mind, none of us would mind. Using trigonometry now. We are what we think, eat, and drink on the physical plane. We are what we think on the mental plane. We are on all planes. We can no longer cease to exist once we have become part of universal soul. Then anything can cease to exist no matter how much you smash it or tear it up. It's still going back to what it was in the first place, pure mind. When we understand that death is only a state of consciousness in which we die, but the state of totality can never die, then we understand where God's experiencing a little bit of a change in environment because we needed to, because we wanted to know more when we understood everything. The more you specifically try to learn one thing, you're channeling yourself into one direction. That's a dangerous thing. Because we're all comprehensive, we should always be trying to understand by expanding what we already have, rather than getting one little facet and concentrating upon it. This is what's happened here. We're concentrating on one little facet of existence.